The incident we'll talk about in today's video is based on a real-life event. The anonymous tip that led nowhere, but a body was found, is one of those cases that begins as a dead end. Seems like a prank or a mistake, then turns into a labyrinth of deeper questions, false trails, and unsettling silence, because the body that was eventually discovered didn't just raise questions about who the victim was or how they died. It cast doubt on the very nature of the tip itself. Who sent it, how they knew what they knew, and why they wanted the body to be found in the first place. It started on the morning of April 17, 2022, when the Riverdale Police Department received a handwritten envelope with no return address, postmarked from within the city, containing only a short note in block letters. Search the forest. Edge at mile marker 31 off Highway 9. Look before dark. You'll find her there. There was no name, no date, no identifying information, just that cryptic line, and no one was reported missing in the area at the time. Detectives initially believed it to be a hoax, possibly from a mentally unstable individual, but protocol required a search of the referenced area. And that afternoon, 2 deputies were sent to the dense wooded stretch just past mile marker 31. The site was unremarkable: tangled brush, rotted tree trunks, a long-forgotten hiking trail barely visible under layers of fallen leaves and mud. After several hours of searching with no results, the officers radioed back that nothing had been found. The area was marked as clear, the letter filed away, and the matter quietly dropped. But 43 hours later, a group of teens exploring the same woods came across something horrific. Partially buried under a thin layer of wet earth and pine needles was the body of a woman, curled fetal-like in a shallow grave just 50 feet from the spot the officers had searched. Her skin was pale blue, her face bloated from exposure, but it was clear she hadn't been dead long. The coroner would later estimate time of death within 48 hours of discovery. She had no ID, no phone, no jewelry, and all her clothing tags had been cut out. Dental records, fingerprints, and even facial recognition databases turned up no match. She was, in every way, a ghost. But the most disturbing part? Her body showed no signs of struggle, injury, poisoning, or trauma. The cause of death was officially listed as cardiac arrest due to undetermined psychological factors. Her heart had simply stopped, as if triggered by sheer fear or overwhelming emotional shock. Investigators turned their focus back to the anonymous tip, but this time they noticed something strange. The note, which had initially appeared ordinary, had micro-impressions along the edges, indicating it had been written over another sheet of paper. When forensics reconstructed the pressure markings from the original pad, they revealed fragments of what appeared to be multiple addresses and one partial name, A. Lawton. But no one by that name lived in Riverdale, and police couldn't trace the handwriting. Then came the second letter, received exactly 10 days after the first, this one typed, not handwritten. She was never supposed to be found. I made a mistake. Stop looking. This time, the postmark was from a neighboring town. But again, no fingerprints, no fibers, no forensic leads, as if whoever sent it had taken extraordinary steps to stay invisible. Detectives canvassed the area near the forest, going door to door, but no one had seen or heard anything. Game cameras from hunters in the region mysteriously had corrupted files around the time the body was buried, as if static had wiped the teeth of footage clean. As pressure mounted, investigators released a sketch of the woman's face reconstructed from post-mortem scans, hoping someone might recognize her. Within a week, they received over 24 calls, all false leads, until one woman came forward claiming the woman resembled someone she met at a rest stop 4 months earlier. A frightened, quiet young woman who had been traveling alone and refused to give her name. She remembered only one detail. The woman had a scar in the shape of a crescent moon under her right jawline. When this was confirmed by the coroner, detectives realized the case had deeper roots than they'd expected. A search of missing persons databases revealed a cold case from Michigan 4 years prior involving a young woman named Ayla Lawton who had vanished while driving to visit her aunt. Her car was found abandoned at a gas station, her belongings still inside, engine running, no sign of struggle. Though the name matched the partial imprint from the first note, the original investigation had gone nowhere and was closed due to lack of evidence. Photos of Ayla, when compared to the current Jane Doe, showed a near-perfect match. It was her. But that raised the question, where had she been for 4 years? Why was she buried anonymously in Riverdale? And who sent the note that led police to her body just hours after her likely death? Even more perplexing was what the medical examiner found next: microscopic scar tissue on her wrists, ankles, and neck, consistent with long-term restraints, suggesting she had been held captive for an extended period. But there were no signs of malnutrition or abuse, and her hair and nails were well kept, indicating she had been groomed and cared for or monitored up until her death. A breakthrough seemed possible when a third letter arrived, this time delivered by hand to the precinct front desk. No envelope, no postage. It read, "They're watching the watchers." There's no safe way to speak. She was the last witness. Underneath was a set of GPS coordinates pointing to a remote cabin 200 miles away. A raid team was dispatched. The cabin, abandoned and decaying, held only one item of note: a rusted metal box filled with black and white photographs of women, dozens of them, most of whom have still not been identified. One photo showed Ayla sitting on a porch beside an older man whose face had been scratched out. In the background was a calendar, dated 2021. The implications were horrifying. She had been alive just a year before her death. Investigators believe she may have been part of a larger human trafficking ring, one so protected and methodical that it used psychological control instead of brute force, keeping victims compliant and invisible. And yet, someone within that system, perhaps another victim, perhaps an insider, had tried to expose it by leading police to her body. Why? Guilt? Revenge? A final cry for justice? No one knows. What is known is that in the months following the discovery, 3 detectives involved in the case received threats. One of them had their house broken into with nothing stolen, and another, the lead investigator, disappeared while hiking off-duty in the same woods where Ayla was found. His phone was recovered at mile marker 31, displaying a single note in the drafts folder. It's not over. She wasn't the only one. The case remains open but heavily redacted, and Riverdale residents still whisper about the night the body was found, a night without wind, without birds, where even the air itself felt like it was holding a secret it wasn't ready to tell.